we'll give it a minute and then start. Or... Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rajgopal.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just give a quick introduction to everybody. It's not a prepared talk, but my name is Rajgopal. So good evening, good afternoon, whichever part of the world you are, maybe good morning. Thanks for joining. I lead outreach here at Azim Premji University, but today's talk is going to be your interaction with the faculty members, right? So let's do that first. And if you have questions, any questions on the admission process, selection process, those are easy stuff. We'll keep it for the end, but for the initial, I'm not sure how much time Tamogna has planned, but spend time in understanding in detail about the MA Economics program offered at Azim Premji University. I'm not a social science trained person, but each time I look at the program, I can see that I wouldn't say unique. I don't think such a program exists anywhere in the country or in the world, and it's just getting better and better. And I just saw the recent video that is put out on the channel, and that talks very clearly how the program is structured. So with that introduction, I think we should start. When there are more than 30 of them on the thing. I'm not introducing all the faculty members one by one. The best is that you just go to our website, look for the names. You can see what they've done, their interests, their research, right? So with that, who's going to lead the talk? Is it Tamogna? You want to share and let's start? Yeah.
Adorina will generally lead by, yeah. Over to you, Adorina.
Sure.
Thank you, Rajagopal. Good evening once again to all of you who have logged in. It's good to have you all here. So this session is really about getting to know a little more about the MA in Economics program we have here at APU. I'm just going to quickly share my slide with you. Yeah, I hope this works fine. Yeah, great, thanks. So the MA in Economics program that we have here belongs to a School of Arts and Sciences, and the broad rationale for our MA program in economics is embedded within the larger university mission that we have, or vision statement that we have, which strongly reflects our belief in the fact that education can and should contribute to human development and well-being, and that over the years we try to nurture a community of students and individuals who are motivated by what is enshrined in the Indian Constitution, which is a commitment to social justice, equity, human values, and sustainability. So it is within that larger umbrella of vision and mission statement that a program like economics, MA in Economics is designed. Our hope is that we're able to design this program to create and produce what we really envision as the next generation of economists, who are simultaneously grounded in the institutional, the developmental, the ecological context of contemporary India. We give a lot of focus on the theoretical knowledge and also on the technical and analytical skills required to remain grounded and to really try and understand the social realities around us. So we drove very heavily on current expertise in the fields of development, policy, governance, and education. The programmatic overview of the MA in Economics program that we have here is to have a curriculum design that enables or ensures students that they have a very good, solid understanding of the Indian economy, be it questions of growth, be it questions of unemployment, jobless growth, inequality, poverty, whatever is prevalent in the Indian economy, to have that understanding grounded in economic theory and tools of analysis. We focus heavily on the fact that students should be able to apply that theory or concepts or constructs that are learned in the classroom, and to be able to utilize those tools of analysis to understand the current economic and development issues that we face in our country today. The learning objectives of the MA Economics program is broadly two-based. One is to expand the knowledge base, which I said earlier is to really try and situate our understanding of economics within the larger context of the country in which we are situated in. There's a lot of focus on development theories and also competing theories of development and concepts. But our hope is really that students are able to have this interaction and engagement with real world institutions and actors in the next 2 years that you would be part of this program, and get to have, so we try and create platform and space where students are able to get that opportunity to interact with real world institutions and actors who are involved in economic development practice. The second broad learning objective that we focus on is to enhance the skill set of our students. One of which is, of course, the idea of communicating economics to a wide range of audience. Let's say to a set of journalists, if we want to engage with public writing, or to development practitioners who are working in grassroots development fields, or to people working in panchayats. So the ability to effectively communicate what we learn in the classroom to people in different layers of the society is one of the skills that we hope be able to inculcate amongst the students. There's a lot of courses that also focus on problem solving, computational skills, and analytical skills. So we have courses that works with Python, R, Stata, and so on. The third skills that we are looking at is the ability for students to conduct independent research at some point of time, having done this program, to be able to conduct independent research by themselves. So I'm going to come back to that bit in a while. So broadly, this is what the course structure looks like. So we have 12 core courses, 7 electives, as you can see. And then we also have 1 course on field practice. So after the first year, the student have the opportunity to choose either a master's thesis track, as we call it, or the internship track. So in the master's thesis track, students have the opportunity to design their own research problem they think would be worthwhile pursuing in, let's say, about 2.5 semesters. A guide will be allotted to the student. So there will be a mapping of what the students want to work and the area of expertise that the guide might be comfortable to guide the students on. There's a lot of hand-holding support that's being provided. So that's a master's thesis track. In the summer, the students also have the opportunity to go out and intern with organizations that they are excited to work with. And in the winter, that's between 3rd and 4th semester, the second half of students who opt for internship track will also have what is called the community engagement portion of internship track. So internship track is sort of divided into 2 courses, so to say. One is to actually intern with organizations that you would like to. In the second half of that internship course is to work with community engagement aspect of the internship. So this is what I was saying. So we have 12 core courses, 7 elective, 1 field practice, and an opportunity for students to branch out to either working on thesis or internship track. There's a communicating economics course, and also the creative expressions, where we believe that it's important to develop students holistically. So creative expressions is where students get to learn or work things out with music or games or sports or theater. And I think there's a whole series of exciting opportunities for students to engage with. So this is a broad structure of the course and the curriculum that I would like to share with you. I think I'm going to ask my colleague, Amoknath, to come over and maybe talk a little bit about the placement opportunities for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrina. So as I shared the screen quickly, I am Kamogna Halder. I'm working with the economics faculty. I'm a member of the economics faculty since 2021 July, and I'm happy to see you all here and wish you all a very good afternoon. So I hope that this session will be useful for those of you who are planning to apply or maybe have applied but want to know more. So with that being said, I know that quite understandably for all of us who are here, we do think about, because this is particularly an MA degree, and after your MA degree, you are of course concerned with what possible things that you can do, etc., etc. So that is why we have designed this session to give you some bit of background on, generally speaking, what kind of work there is available out after doing an MA economics, and what is it that is sort of special about the placements from our university, particularly after graduating from MA economics at Azim Premji University. What are the things that people generally do? So today I'm going to walk you through 4 broad things. One is the types of placement that we typically have. One is the history of placements that we have had so far. One is what kind of institutional support that you have and that you can have here. And finally, there might be some of you who might be thinking of masters as an essential step towards doing further studies and PhD. So I'll just very briefly, if I get time, I'll cover a little bit about that as well. So and please feel free to jump in if you do not, if there is any difficulty in following what I am saying. Of course, I'll be happy to take questions afterwards, but if there is any part where you cannot follow what I am saying, please raise your hand and feel free to jump in. So essentially in our university, with broadly aligned with the university's mission, we do look for organizations in the social or development sector, but it is in a sense very broadly defined. So social or development sector does not necessarily entail to only non-profit institutions, but it can also be, for example, for-profit institutes. For example, you can see CMIE, or the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, has been one of the employers for our students, which is a for-profit organization, but has some social or development sector, but fits into that definition somewhat broadly. Followed by, there are many non-profit organizations where our students mostly go and work. We also have both public and private, not private sector organizations coming and hiring our students. Some of our students are working with Andhra Pradesh government, other government consultancies, as well as they also work for private non-profit consultancies, etc. So in other ways, if I am to classify what kind of jobs they take up, their jobs often include doing research, their jobs often include teaching at different levels, and also they're often working in the field and doing action-based research, etc., with different organizations, whether that is in the rights movement space, etc., so on and so forth. And please note that this entire social or development sector process is done both through our placement cell at Azim Premji University. So we do have a dedicated placement cell, as well as there are opportunities that come off campus. And if you have been wondering, okay, we have heard about economics that finish their master's program and go on to earn a lot of money from banks, etc. Is that something that is not there in this program? The answer is simply that those kind of processes are off campus. So if you are particularly interested in the corporate sector, there are several students of us who went to the, who are right now working in the corporate sectors, but then that process is off campus. So as and when opportunities come up, you can on your own actually apply to those places. And what I am trying to highlight here is that although this process is off campus, whatever skills that you learn here is actually equally helpful for you to get a job in the corporate sector if that is your test. However, in our placement process, what is done through the campus, we put an emphasis, we prioritize placing students in the social or development sector broadly defined, simply because the way we think of, the way we align our program with the university's mission in general. And the corporate sector usually includes financial consultancy firms, the data analytics firms, etc. Now, I want to quickly walk you through. So, Doina already gave you some idea on how our curriculum is, how our curriculum looks like. So, I want to give you a sense of. It's not that everything that I am saying you have to take it just because faculty is sitting there and saying all these things, but rather try to see how the courses, the core or compulsory courses that you will be learning, how are they mapping into the different kinds of skills and abilities, how are they building your capacity to work as you graduate out of our program. So let me start with the foundational courses such as micro and macroeconomic theories and applications, which actually gives you the ability to examine different economic theories in Indian context. So it's not just about reading a particular book and theory and take it as the ultimate truth, but also to examine it, also to critically engage with it in the Indian context. That is something that we try to achieve with every course, and these are the two courses where we try to do it more so. Now, in terms of the quantitative skills, which are absolutely important no matter what you are doing after your graduation, whether you are going to the social or development sector or you are going to the corporate, data and analytics have become central to understanding those. So what we do is specifically keeping that need in mind. We not only expose you to the different techniques, which gives you a foundational theoretical knowledge on these quantitative techniques, but also teach you different softwares, use these courses to teach you through these particular softwares such as R and Stata. We have different courses designed where you will pick up those skills as well. Moving on, you will also gain certain kind of, and this is where our program is sort of really unique because we bind field practice as a mandatory component of our program. So through field practice, qualitative research methods, economics of environment, these are different things that these are different compulsory courses that builds into certain sensitivities and certain experience of field work, which is extremely valuable, as we keep hearing from our alumni as they went to as they went for their jobs, etc. It's often, this is one of the parts of our program which has often been appreciated by even their employers, the field sensitivities that they have. Also in terms of critical thinking, in terms of understanding different things from different perspectives, there are courses such as theories of power, political economy of international development, etc., which are our core or compulsory course, which means that these are things that you must, whether you like it or not, you must be taking. And these are designed to develop a certain sense of critical thinking in you, which is again, one of the very rare things that, because maybe a lot of students are out there who have done or who have knowledge of the different softwares or different computational skills, but this also is something that is extremely valuable to build a larger perspective, a broader perspective about things, and to think through critically. And finally, you will also have research, and you will also build research and analytical capacities, because our assignments that we have for all the courses are meant to build some kind of analytical capacity. Often you will be writing term paper or doing short research projects as part of your own coursework. Both through thesis and internship track, you will get in both these tracks some kind of analytical capacity and the ability to pursue independent research. And finally, communicating economics is about talking to different stakeholders. Just think of it as once you are going out, you have to use economics, or you have to use different kinds of medium to express ideas related to economics, whether it is a presentation that you are making for your team or you are teaching to students, whatever you are doing. You have to communicate economic ideas very sharply and clearly for different stakeholders and different audiences. And that is something that we try to teach in this particular compulsory course. Remember that these are only some compulsory courses. As Adrina pointed out, there are many elective courses such as, and those are very exciting. For example, history of economic thought, economics of identity. These are some of the very feminist economics. These are some of the favorite, so to speak, electives that are often taken up by our students. And these also build each of these skills that I have pointed out there. They also build on to, they also add to each of these skills. Moving on quickly, we have had 2 batches of MA economics that have graduated so far, and the 3rd batch will graduate this year. So far we have, this is sort of the broad statistics that we have had, and 95% of our students get placed before their graduation. And these are just in case you were wondering about concrete numbers, etc. I just wanted to share this quick slide quickly with you. So our usual range of salaries lie between 5 to 6 lakhs. And of course, then there is variation. And it is usually during February to July of the 4th semester is when you get, when the placement process takes off. And in terms of the institutional support, specifically in economics, and please note that these are support that is offered by the economics group. In addition to the support, there is very good support provided by the university's placement cell. On top of it, the economics faculty also tries to add some more effort, and a group of us monitor the placement process. We help you with workshops, individual guidances on CV, mock job interviews, everything. And we also try to coordinate with the university-wide placement cell, specifically for economics students whenever possible. And finally, if you are interested in PhD, that's definitely something that you can be interested in, and you can feel free to talk to us. We do have a great set of faculty who has networks academically spread across both nationwide as well as internationally. And in fact, all of our courses include some kind of research component in it. But remember one thing, increasingly, the idea of getting into a PhD is changing, and there is a sort of a requirement of doing some kind of research assistantship, which is often known as pre-doc these days. So that is where the direct transition from MA to PhD is slowly getting a little less frequent. So you will have a lot of opportunities of doing meaningful research assistantship with different organizations after graduating from our program. And if you are more interested after joining APU, we'll be happy to guide you on generally what is a PhD, whether you are in a position to think about it, not to encourage you or to give you a sense of what it entails. All of those will be there. So all those kind of supports we will talk about. Just remember, as I end, our graduates, as I have hopefully been able to make the point, our graduates are ready to enter the workplace as well as for studying further. There is a lot of support that is available from various sources as well as from the existing coursework that we have. And also studying sincerely is the key to success, and not worrying about placements while you are studying is also one of the key to success. And with that, I hope that I will see some of you in this beautiful campus of ours. And yeah, so with that, I did.
Thank you, Tomo, very much for your detailed presentation. We also have 2 senior faculty members along with us this evening, Kate and Alex. So if Tomo and I might have missed out on something, kindly feel free to come in and fill up the gap before we open it up for Q&A to economics program.
Thank you, Adorna and Tamo. I don't think you missed out on anything, but I just love the opportunity to interact and see new faces of our next batch of students. Just to reiterate, we're a relatively new program. We've only been going for a few years, our MA in economics at Azim Premji University. The university's been around for about a decade, running a number of very interesting, very unique, both master's programs. And then over the last 6 or 7 years, we've also launched our really interesting liberal arts undergraduate program. We have, I think the only thing I really want to say is that our university is a very interesting place to be a student. So it's a little different. As Raj Gopal mentioned, we set up the university with a different mission than virtually any other university in India or in the world. And we're very, very proud of our students and also our amazing faculty that go above and beyond the call of duty. You will find in some universities dedicated faculty, but they come in and they teach their courses and they go home. Well, at Azim Premji University, your faculty are embedded into the institution. We are all very, very busy outside of classes helping build the university because it's relatively new and we're still putting in place our systems. And the thing that comes with that is an enormous amount of energy from all of our faculty. And you're just meeting 4 of us today, but we have a large group of very interesting, incredible researchers in economics who have developed both our undergraduate and are really proud to have launched our master's program. We've designed it with the idea of what is the sort of master's program that we all wanted to go to, but we never did. And so you find a sort of unique design behind the program. You find a master's in economics where we're deeply committed to addressing contemporary social problems, whether it's in the development sector, whether it's ecological catastrophe, climate change, etc. And you also have you have students that are very passionate about these issues, and we love working strongly with our students to develop the next generation of economists that go out into the world to try to tackle these issues and use economics tools of analysis, analytical power, quantitative tools, and we're very proud of what our students go out and do. And you also have faculty like Tamogna, who is spending hours and hours with students running mock interviews, finding out about organizations that are hiring and helping place. And today we placed another one of our graduating MA Economics students in a very interesting organization that's working on the green energy transition and climate change in India. And so we are just so thrilled and so proud of our students. I just wanted to come in and share that, but I'll stop there. Alex, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Sorry for my video. I'm using a mobile phone. But anyway, I think that I'm in tune with most of our students who are also probably looking at their mobile phones. Good evening to all of you. I just wanted to add 4 things, drawing on what Kate had already said. One is that I think some of you might be wondering what kind of assessments we have. So it's not all exams. There will be some exams, but we will also have interesting things like book reviews, group presentations, which again, I think is slightly innovative relative to many other programs in the country. The other thing is we have a very active clubs situation across the university. So you might be interested in joining music club or cycling club. We have a very active sports also. I think Rajagopal might mention some of this later, but we have a very active residential life. And the third thing, which I think has not been mentioned, is we have an amazing library. And also, if you have books that you want to read and it's not there in the library, you can always recommend those books to us and we will get it to you as soon as we can. And finally, the fourth thing, which Kate briefly mentioned, is she spoke about conversations between faculty and students. So I think that one of the key, according to me personally, after being in many other universities, is the informal conversations that we have with our students. So if you come to our campus, you might see many of us having lunch or dinner with our students or breakfast with our students. And I think that this is very uncommon. And like Kate said, that we do spend a lot of time with our students, not just in the classroom, but also outside the classroom. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kate and Alex. I think it would be good to now open up for Q&A specific to MA program. And then after that, to hand it over to Rajagopal again to talk more about the institution. So if you have, so this is for the candidates to, if you have any queries that you would like any one of us to address, this would be a good time to do that.
Hi, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Hi. Actually, a nice presentation, and I got to understand what the course is about. My question is that I have an undergraduate degree in BBM, Bachelor's of Business Management. So how easy or difficult or impossible is the transition to MA Economics? Thank you.
Adoina, do you want me to take that? Is this Nikhil?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So it's a good question and one we get asked every year. So we've designed it for students who have a foundation in economics. Usually you have a foundation through getting an undergraduate degree in economics, but we don't restrict it in that you can go through the application process and you have to take a test. And if you pass that test, then you have enough foundational knowledge in economics for, and if you are successful through the interview process, we'll give you an offer. The best way, if you haven't had very much economics, so we've had engineers, and I don't think we've had somebody from your course, but we've had a few engineers apply and successfully get in who made the switch over. And they had really good quantitative skills, but they had very little economics. What we recommended to them, which I will also recommend to you, is that you go to our website and you look at the test information for the MA Economics program. So our other PG programs have a different test and a different application process. The postgraduate program in economics has a economics specific entrance test. So you would have to study to take that test. The best way to do that is to actually look at, if you haven't taken, sounds like you may have taken sort of some introductory economics courses, so that's good. You need a bit of introduction to microeconomics and a bit of introduction to macroeconomics, and then some of the sort of statistics that you would get in a undergraduate degree in economics. They do optimization and things. If you haven't had much economics exposure for anybody else on the call besides Nikhil, I would recommend that you quickly read some of the chapters of the core textbook, which is what we use in our undergraduate program. It's an open source online textbook. It's called Core Economics. And we give it in the information sheet for preparing for the test online on our website. But if you can't find it, please email any of us and we'd be happy to share you the link. I hope that helps, Nikhil.
Yes, thanks.
And I have put the link there in the chat, so you can check the book from there.
Also, I think during your presentation, you mentioned that there was a placement for 9.5 lakhs. May I know which company that was?
I actually don't remember that.
See, as a matter of principle, one thing we're trying to do is not to attract students by telling them the highest pay package, right? The idea, I think, what Tamogna was trying to tell is the possibilities of. I think there's a myth going around that social sector or development sector doesn't pay well. There are no jobs, and it's actually the reverse. I think. I had a meeting with the placement team this morning. They're told we are done this year. Please, we're not able to take any more requests for this year for placements until we process the 150 organizations who want to come to campus for placements, right? So yeah. So even if
precisely that, yeah.
Yeah. So I know, Nikhil, but you just go and look at. There are dedicated websites for development sector these days. So yeah.
Alicia, you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I have got two questions. First is that is maths mandatory? Like I didn't have studied maths since class 10, or if honest level knowledge of economics is required for MA economics. And what's particular about political economy apart from other economic branches that you are including it in your core courses? What's particular about it?
Kate, will you come in again? Sorry.
Alicia, can you just repeat your question for me? I just wasn't clear. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. But my question is maths mandatory? Because I have not studied maths since class 10, or if your honors level knowledge of economics is required for MA economics. I have done my graduation in economics, simple graduation. And what's particular about political economy, apart from other branches of economics, that you are including it in your core courses?
Yes. So sorry. I knew there was different parts of your question. That's why I needed it repeated. So the first part of your question, if you have only taken up to grade 10 math, that's okay, but you will need to do a little revision for the test, because there's a quantitative section within the test. The best thing to do is to look at previous exam papers, which are uploaded on the website, to get a sense of the types of questions. So in economics, it's the sort of math where we ask you up to econometrics, but I think this year we're doing less of that. So just sort of statistics. So you need to know the difference between mean, median, and mode. You need to be able to interpret a graph correctly. There's a number of sort of things you will see from both the information we give in the preparing for the test and then also in the previous exam questions. One of the most useful things in terms of math that we use in economics is mostly comes from algebra. We do use calculus. We use a little linear algebra, but you're not usually tested on those. But being able to answer what's called an optimization question usually coming from microeconomics. So usually you're trying to maximize profit or minimize costs. And those are very specific questions that we tend to ask in economics. Khan Academy online, an online free resource, is a great way to revisit some of these concepts in math, and also in economics, you can see the way in which the math is being used. So I would advise doing that. That was the first part of your question. So in terms of math, the second part has to do with, do you need an economics honors degree? No, you just need an economics degree. And then the third, I've already forgotten the third part of your question. I'm so sorry. Again, you're going to have to repeat it for me.
Kate, it's why is political economy there in the core?
Thank you. So sorry. So it's the end of a long day. So political economy is not the only focus of our program. We are what we call a pluralist economics program, which means that we have economists who are trained in very many schools of thought. So we have economists that come out of a longer political economy tradition. We have economists that are neoclassical economists. We have economists who are deeply immersed in history of economic ideas and how those have evolved over time. And we have economic historians. We have economists who study agrarian change, structural transformation. We have theorists, and we also have economists who are in applied economics. And we have econometricians. So we have a very nice flavor of economics. And that's not everything. We have somebody who does climate change economics. We have people who work in various sub areas of economics. We want, as in the master's program, to expose students to some of this amazing diversity in the field. So we didn't want to restrict the breadth of what we are exposing students to in economics. And that's something that we've seen in other programs where you might get depth in economics, but it's only in a very small sliver of the entire breadth of the field of economics. And we want students to be able to be exposed to many different ways of doing economics, to be able to ask many different types of questions, and to be able to draw on many different traditions within economics. So I hope finally I answered all three of your questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. I'm sorry, I was unable to find the raising hand icon. Is it okay if I may speak?
That's all right. Please go ahead. It's all right.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the information that has been shared. I just wanted to share a bit about myself first. I am not from an economics background, but I have done a postgraduation in management where I studied economics and just a second. And then I have also done a postgraduation in data analytics and economics. And I actually have around 8 years of experience. And it's out of a pure interest for economics that I want to study the subject now. And maybe, transition to further studies beyond masters as well. So how would you say, will I be a candidate fit for the program? In terms of eligibility only, of course, the entrance and interviews remain purely based on previous experience and qualifications.
So I can take this if that's okay. Sushmita, yes, you're completely qualified and we'd love to have you apply. Please do.
Okay.
People with work experience who also know the power of working with data and have some of those technical skills are just a joy to have in the classroom, because your entry point is not theory. And economic theory, as we all know, if we've been tortured by it can sometimes be a little dull. So if we start with the real world skills, and then we bring in the economic theory, it makes for really fascinating classroom discussions. Also, there'll be some lovely ways that you can scaffolding learning with your peers, and there can be some great back and forth. So it sounds like you have enough of a background to definitely apply. So we'd strongly encourage you to apply. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yash, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
So I wanted to ask that I did graduation from IGNOU due to some financial reasons, but will it be a hurdle in taking applying to your college, applying to APU, or will it be a hurdle in sitting for placements? I did my graduation in economics honors only, but from Indira Gandhi National Open University.
Yeah, I do not see why. I cannot think of a reason why that should be a hurdle. I don't think it will be. So yeah, please feel free to apply, and yeah,
Okay,
looking forward.
Thank you, sir.
Aditya, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, teachers, and all attendants also. Uh, my question was for the climate change. I'm looking forward to study economics for these reasons, for climate change, for development economics, and I am also preparing for entrances for university. So I have been studying with sustainable development, how the economics has to take care of the environment and nature too. So first question was regarding that, how are the placement opportunities in these fields, the climate change, the sustainable development. So it would be first to, I have other questions too, but it would be better if we start with this firstly.
Do you want me to take it? Adina?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So one of the things that I would like to say is that there are actually a lot of students that are very interested in the economics of climate change and, so to speak, broadly environment and ecological concerns. So there are two things that I will point out. One is, when you are interested in such a topic, then through the courses that we have as compulsory as well as elective, in those courses, you can explore certain questions of certain research questions that gives you an idea of, whether as part of term paper or assignment or whatever, that gives you some exposure to conduct research question in an area which you think you are very much interested in. And what that does is that it makes you prepared for all kinds of jobs, including analysis of, let's say, for example, data on weather change, or particularly taking a long-term patterns of weather, etc. So all these very exciting data sets are also built into the classroom. So that gives you both an idea of what are the things, what are the kinds of research questions that one can ask, and in fact, beyond just quantitative or data analytics part of it. So that sort of prepares you as part of our program that will get you prepared. In terms of jobs, there are two kinds. One would be, therefore, using your experience, you can go into research positions on climate, there are various research position openings that are there across several institutions, including at Azim Premji University also. There are many research centers that are now hiring students and research assistants who are working in this area. So that's one kind of job. And the other kind of job is something that Cade was mentioning earlier. Like, for example, today itself, we got two students of ours who is going to the social sector, working on clean energy transition, etc. So these are the other social sector organizations that are looking for economists who have certain abilities, most of which, in fact, all of which are covered by our courses. So that is the other kind of job where you can go in, and that will also involve policy analysis, potential policy suggestions, etc., so on and so forth. So you said you had a second question, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for the answer, sir. And other thing is, I wanted to know more about PhD. How is, like you told the significance of MA economics, but if a student wants to, he wants to get into PhD, so what is its significance? Because that is what I cannot see much on the internet. So if you shed some light on that, it would be good.
Yeah, so just quickly, it's a separate. So if you have very specific questions about it, please feel free to write to me. You will find my email ID on the website as well. But just quickly to give you an idea, PhD is essentially when you pursue a research question for roughly 5-6 years of your after you do your MA, and mostly after that you often come back to teach, etc., at colleges and universities. So that's pretty much about PhD, which is about pursuing a research question. And what I was trying to suggest was that these days it is increasingly less frequent that right after your MA you go into a PhD, you stay for some more years in research, doing research assistant kind of job, and then you apply for PhD if you want. That's pretty much about it. Yeah.
So, sir, is doing PhD also increases the employment opportunities as a
not necessarily, depends on the sector and the kind of work that you want to do. So,
and secondly, also I'm also getting into the study of data analytics. This is an other course that I'm enrolled into. So how is it going to help after my graduation finishes? Like the data scientist course, sorry, I mistakenly said it. It is data scientist course for it
trains the student to get at last when he completes the course, or he or she completes the course, he ends up being a data scientist. So is it going to help in any manner to the same course? Is it going to align or not? That's the question.
Sorry, I did not get your question. So if Adina,
sorry.
yeah.
If you want, I can repeat it again.
Yeah, please.
So I'm asking that I'm also enrolled in the course of data analytics, data scientist, and there the whole idea of the course is that the student who gets into the course after 4 to 6 months, they end up being a data scientist. So that the course material, how does it help in our MA economics?
It may or may not, depending on some of the things that you may have learned. Is very specific to a certain kind of thing, but it's so as unique about our MA economics program is that we situate it in the social context of India. So when you are as a data scientist, the kind of problems that you learn to solve might be very fundamentally different, fundamentally way more different than the kind of problems that maybe we will be teaching you to solve. So it may not. That's my quick answer. In terms of the questions, there are many questions, and we are happy to take all of them. But please note that whatever questions you have been asking in the chat, most of us have answered all those things. So please take a moment. If you have asked a question already in the chat, and if the answer is already there, for example, scholarship structure, I have posted a screenshot of that. Kid has posted a response to the interview process. Rajgopal and Doina have also posted the links to different materials, including I have also posted one quick link to the core econ textbook. So that's there. Please go through the answers. And in terms of the questions, who did not, so I think Nikhil and Alisha asked questions. So if you have follow-up, we will definitely come back. Meanwhile, Abdullah, Amit, and Vanshika, in that order, can you go ahead?
Sir, good evening, sir. I am Abdullah Amin Khan, pursuing my graduation from Aligarh Muslim University in UP. Sir, is there any specific course about international trade or financial economics at the level of PG in APU?
So at this moment, we do not have, but on finance we do. On trade, at this moment, we don't. But there is always a possibility that we can offer it if there is sufficient interest among the students.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Amit?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I had three questions. One, of course, about I'm interested in the field of finance. I'm currently I'm a positional trader, I would say. I come with 17 years of experience selling in enterprise application sales, and then I moved on in the field of education. I've been teaching middle program for past 2 years. I wanted to come back to the industry. So I'm currently evaluating options in the field of finance. So if I do a program in MA economics, do you have, can we work in the field of finance? Is there a scope? I'm not worried about companies. I know there are, but from a scope perspective, how well the course can prepare me if I want to, not per se economics, but deal in finance typically, that too in capital markets, maybe risk assessment or things like that, or audit. Will the course prepare me? Are there electives around that? That's my first question. In response to Kate's answer, I want to understand the scope of economics in climate change, as one of the participants was asking, because it's a nice intersection. How does economics contribute to the SDG goals and in the areas of climate change? I also heard your answer, Tamogna. So apart from policy making, is there something else that we can take up with? Because that's another interest area. I mean, it's a growing sector. It's a nascent sector, much talked about thing. So how can we really contribute to, contributing to a more sustainable society? That's my second question. The third is more operational. Do you also teach Python along with and data analytics, along with R, because R is getting outdated? Though like some participants did share, I have not registered for any course, but I have deep interest in data analytics because analytics is pervasive now. So Python is more into play, NumPy and things like that. So are you offering that? I mean, in terms of the latest offering, would you be considering that? Thank you.
So I can jump in, and then others please jump in for the response for Amit's questions. So the last one first, because it's the easiest. Yes, we teach Python. We have a computational economics course that's taught by somebody who is a whiz at both programming, but also data analytics, and is a very skilled economist. Who also is one of, a rare person who can step into both micro and macroeconomics. So that is the easy question to answer. The first question about whether or not our program is a good program, if you actually really want to go into financial markets and financial trading, it probably is not a good program for you. So we do have an elective on financial markets, and it's a popular elective, and it's a good elective in terms of teaching you about how to understand the financial sector and the integration of the financial sector into the real sector from the perspective of a global South economy. And that's something that's very different. When you learn, financial markets in the way that I learned it in the West, it was all about advanced industrial capitalist economies and financial flows. And so while some of that is useful when you're in the financial sector in the global South, especially in a country like India, you really need to know the specifics of the way in which finance is operating and financial flows. So I don't think our program is probably, if that's what you want to do, is a great option. However, your second question about climate change and what do economists have to do with the Sustainable Development Goals? Well, I don't think we will meet the Sustainable Development Goals unless we bring on board economists into the development realm, and we get economists thinking creatively about how to address some of these incredibly pressing problems, whether it's about how do you create decent jobs for all, how do you address social stratification as it impacts educational outcomes, health outcomes, who gets nutrition, who's chronically malnourished. As we think about physical infrastructure needs for anybody who's living in an urban city in India, especially Bangalore, the lack of physical infrastructure for the population growth that has expanded over the last few decades impacts each and every one of our daily lives. So economists get into the mix in all of these areas, not just policy. I mean, policy is sort of is often the easiest way for us to think about how to use economic tools. But even you asked specifically about climate change. Well, we have experts, economists, very unusually trained. They are climate change economists, and they can help calculate how do we measure climate change? How do we look at the costs of it? How do we put in place very innovative pricing systems for things like carbon trading, for trying to reduce carbon emissions between not just within a country or within a state, but also geopolitically? How do we set up these systems? So economists are great with incentives. We can both measure anything, and we can think about ways to help people or countries actually move towards a public good or a better pathway. So decarbonizing our economies is one of the most interesting areas in economics. Many economists are just getting into it. Economics took a lot of time to actually get into climate change, but now we have economists all over the world who are passionate and committed about it, and some of them are in our department. So I hope that answered some of your questions, Amit. Shall we go to the other questions that are on the list?
Yeah, Vanshika.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. First of all, myself, Vanshika, and I've been studying economics special as one of my graduation subjects. Like, I'm an undergrad who's still pursuing economics in my third year. And yeah, APO curriculum does interest me a lot, due to which I am here right now. So basically, my question is not related to the curriculum in general or other things. I just want to know one major thing, which is one of my major concerns to seek admission in my master program, is that how can this college and the curriculum and the faculty over this college contribute to my in general personality development post 2 years? Because I believe that if in case you have the interest in the subject, you will be able to grab onto the details of the subjects in general. But what skills have been added to me as a person when I pass out from APU, and how is it going to help me be a better person after it? So because I had, being very honest, I come from Rajasthan, then I am pursuing my graduation from another state, that is Maharashtra. And I personally believe that I was not able to take up a lot of opportunities, as well as not able to add a lot of value to myself due to the people I was surrounded by in my college, being a government college out here. So I could not find a cosmopolitan environment, due to which I faced a lot of difficulties overall in adjustment and everything. So I wanted to know what is the status of the crowd and everything in APU in general.
So I'm happy to start this, and then maybe Alex, would you come in on this too, because you've been so involved in our residential life and supporting students in that way. So Vanchika, I guess the first thing I would say is just I'm very sorry to hear that you've had a difficult time where you currently are, and that you haven't felt supported, and that you've had sort of challenges in that way. So I can't promise the experience that you will have at APU, but what we can tell you is that we are committed to creating a really vibrant, nurturing environment where people from all different backgrounds, all different persuasions, all different religions, all different castes can come together and be part of our community. And we spend, as faculty and as staff at the university, we spend an enormous amount of time and effort because we really care about that part of the university. We actually, although I love education and my passion is pedagogy and inclusion, I know that most of the learning that happens is not in my classroom, and it's not in my amazing colleagues' classrooms. It's actually outside of the classroom. So if we get the outside of the classroom right, then we know that we just add to it within the classroom. So it's not perfect. We have been learning along the way. Colleagues like my dear friend Alex has been spending enormous amounts of time and energy over the last couple of years, really trying to help build our residential program, integrate the way in which students can actually come to the university and create the space that they want to. They can have the clubs that they want, they can create events, and we really do care about our students, and we try to support them on their own personal journey and path. So I'll stop there. Alex, please.
Yeah, I'll just add a few points. Really, actually, I was about to go because I have a meeting with a student. Just like we said, we meet students all the time. So, but I'll respond to this and go. One is that I mean, the residential life here is very active. So again, we've been to many universities, and what I've noticed is, I mean, we have theater shows, music performances, different kind of people who are coming to talk from the industry, from academic spaces. So actually, I would say that the number of programs is too much actually. So there's no dearth of programs here. and we are spoiled for choice, and we have so many clubs which are happening. But there are some things that I want to mention. For instance, in the hostel, in the residences, along with resident mentors who live there, we try to do, for instance, cooking together. And what we have in mind is really we want to get people who might not otherwise talk to each other, come together, cook together, or it could be a movie screening that we do. Or sometimes what we have done in the past is we have about 100, 300 students, let's say, in the undergraduate program. The lunch tables are then marked with people's names, and we all have to have mixed lunches. So even faculty members, we go and sit and talk to students who we might not talk to. So there is a lot of intentionally we have planned in the orientation program, and even later, ways in which we can actually mingle with people we might not otherwise mingle with. The other final point that I want to mention is sports, and especially for women. For us, sports is extremely important. And as Kate mentioned, just like what happens in the classroom is important, we also really value what people do outside. Apart from the residences, people spend a lot of time in the sports field, and we actively encourage women to play in sports. And I want to talk about a Frisbee team. So if you maybe look up, there might be some material on the internet about a Frisbee team, because it is a sport where all people of all genders contribute, and and there's a lot of skill building that happens in Frisbee, which then we think that is valuable for any kind of job or any kind of educational setting. So learning is, so when you say skills, I think of it as coming from sports, from residences, from the classroom, informal student organizations, whatever that we are providing in terms of academic and not entertainment wise, all kinds of possibilities are.
Is the hostel compulsory or is it optional?
Optional.
Thanks, Alex. Please feel free to go meet your student.
So the fees mentioned, is it inclusive of hostel?
There is in that website itself, you will see that it's mentioned what is the program fees, what is the hostel fees.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's broken up. Yeah.
Since Alex was talking about events on campus, I'm taking the opportunity to invite you all for 3 events. Right, let me do that before I forget. The first event is, if you're in Bangalore, this Friday, we are doing something what we call Social Enterprise Mela. Right, and I don't know how many of you know, more than 30 to 40 of our graduates have set up their own social enterprises, but this is not about our students. We're having a lot of budding young social entrepreneurs coming this Friday. So that's the first event. The second event is on Saturday. So we have an open house. So if you would like to meet them in person, the other accomplished economists of Azim Premji University, if you'd like to meet them in person, come to the campus at around 11 o'clock. The same day on Saturday evening at the city, there's a public lecture series organized by Azim Premji University. I will not tell you who's the speaker. You go and find out on the on the social media pages. So yeah, if you're in and around Bangalore, more than welcome to come to the campus this weekend. That's the only way to understand how vibrant the space is.
What is this Center for Sustainable Employment? Is it related to your department?
It's yeah, Kate, you can go first, then I'll probably answer that.
Yeah.
I'll add to that later. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a number of research institutes that are run out of the university. This is one that was set up by economists from the economics group. And so And so Amit Basoli and Rosa Abraham run it, and they are really, really interesting economists, who think very carefully and very sensitively about issues of employment and what do we know from the data and what do we not know. So there's many very interesting puzzles about the Indian labor market. Many of which stem from the structural features of it, that most of labor in India is employed in the unorganized, informal, either the unorganized sector and doing informal employment. But there's also very unique features about Indian labor markets that economists in other parts of the world are perplexed and do not understand at all. So it's wonderful that we have both Amit and Rosa in our midst. They teach extensively in the program, and they're in the economics group, running both our helping us run both the UG and the PG program in economics. And you get to work closely with them if you want to do research. They're very willing and love people to be involved in the research projects. They have many research projects that they're running at once. And so it's a great opportunity if you're really interested to dive in. And if you're interested in why does India have such low female labor force participation rates, or what does segmentation of the Indian labor market really look like, and how does caste and the social stratification behind caste actually impact important labor market outcomes. What is the gender wage gap, or what is the wage gap between different social identities within India? Does it vary between whether you're somebody in the Northeast versus somebody with the same level of education or skills from the state of Kerala? So there's many, many very interesting questions and puzzles, and they always need good economists to work with to answer some of these questions that they're working on. They have a flagship report that's out every year, the State of Working India, and it is the report that everybody goes to look at the most recent data and trends on the Indian labor market. So I strongly encourage you to check it out and check them out. They're really interesting economists.
So there are a couple of industrial areas in Bangalore like Pina or Jigni, etc. So do these places, do they give access to economists for research programs or projects?
I have not heard of an economist from Bangalore getting access to them, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. So if this was something you were interested in, say you wanted to do a thesis and do primary data collection or work with data that's already been collected but has not been shared publicly, then we would support you in terms of trying to figure it out. It can be hard to get data that is restricted here unless you have connections or some other route in, but not impossible. And we have, all of our economists are working in really interesting areas, and those that have not been able to find data have gone and collected it themselves. So you often find economists that only work with secondary data sources, but we have economists that will mine our historical archives or data that is very obscure in colonial records and use it. And then we have economists like Adonia that'll go to the Northeast and collect his own data because nobody else has collected it. So we work with you to try to help you try to find the data that you want to use.
I will take one question. I think several of you might be having this question, so I'll not respond to this one in chat, but rather spell it out. So what is the difference between MA Economics and MA Development? I'll do that. But before that, Waki, Amit, you had your hand raised for quite a while. So please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just while trying to learn more about the university, I tried to do some research online, and on some forums, etc. I found that most of the I found warnings basically telling me that many faculty are left-leaning and they might be biased towards say they prefer socialism over free market capitalism in such university. So I just wanted to know if there's any truth to this statement, or are different strands of economic thinking equally represented in this free debates, etc., in the university?
So I can handle this question. But others, please feel free to answer it. So some of the, don't always believe everything that you read online. Some of the things that you read online are written by trolls and not even human beings. I have read reviews of the MA Economics program because people have sent them to me. And it was before we even had graduated students out working, and they were saying that we don't place our students. So things that were hypothetically impossible, because you can't place students until you have students that are graduating. So not everything online is true. In terms of the political persuasion of our faculty, we have faculty from all different areas of India and also from abroad, obviously, given what I look like and sound like. We have faculty that are trained in all different traditions within economics. Now, some of those tend to be associated with more easily from some political traditions than others. But I would say what is true about our department is that we actually don't fit into any category. So we don't have a label. The only label that we would apply to ourselves, that we have created for ourselves, is the label of being a pluralist economics department. So that means that we are committed to exposing you to multiple schools of thought in economics. And those come often quite closely associated with different political traditions. The other response is that our faculty, because of the university coming out of the foundation, being there, being created for the social good, for the social purpose, means that all of our faculty actually care about using economics for the social good. And so that may be some of what you're reading online. Is the way to interpret that is not that there's a political persuasion of all the economists at the university, because there actually isn't. I know each and every one of them very well, and none of us would align to any other person. But we come with different flavors, different training, different backgrounds, different political persuasions. But we're all committed to our students, and we're all committed to the place. And so that's the thing that sort of bonds us together. And the other thing that you often really don't find in an economics department is a high level of congeniality. We actually enjoy working together, and we work really, really hard to produce a very high quality program. And we work very closely to also to both transform and help you grow into being both better people and also great economists when you go out into the world.
Vanshika has her hand up. Vanshika?
Yeah, hi. So first of all, really, thank you so much for answering the previous question. I really got the answer to my issue. Secondly, I wanted to know that most of the universities do have some certain, I won't call it a restriction, but they have a policy of attendance, like 75% attendance or so on. So if in case a person who has a certain hobby or likes to do something extracurricular apart from studies, be it a part-time job or can be a hobby of like traveling on like weekends or so like what kind of support can I expect from the universities for the same?
So again, sorry to hog it. I can answer this just because I've been on the front line of dealing with many of these requests. So it depends. We do have a minimum attendance policy for our postgraduate programs, and we follow what's there for the rest of the university. And I think I can't actually remember the percentage. It's, I think 65 or 70% attendance. Essentially, that is there not to penalize you, not to micromanage you, but essentially because if you're not present in the classroom, that is where we do a lot of group work. We also, as instructors, get really good feedback on what you are getting of the material or the skills or the sensitivities that we're trying to generate or inculcate. And if you're not there, we don't get any of that good feedback. So you have to be present for it. Now, but we don't overschedule you in terms of classes. You have breaks during the day. We don't schedule any courses except our creative expressions courses on the weekends. So Saturday and Sunday are generally free. They're not so free that you get to goof off. You have to do your homework on those days. You have to go to the library on those days. Those will be the days that you also often get together for your group projects. But we have had students that have an artistic side, that study either classical dance or music of some sort, and they've been able to do it. We've had some students that have worked part-time, but they've had quite flexible schedules, and it hasn't required you to be in a location for the work. But we give you a lot of freedom. You're an adult. If you attend your classes and you get your work done, then we don't monitor you. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll quickly take, although Aduna has given a very nice brief reply to the question on ME economics and ME development, I will quickly expand on Aduna's answer. Aduna is absolutely right. ME development takes the notion of development much more broadly to include discussions on state, democracy, etc. But at the same time, just to sort of put a little more specific to economics, what we do differently is we take certain theories of economics and the whole notion of economic development, how that is seen, or what kind of development policies, let's say, if you want to connect between the two. In our context, development would essentially mean, in the Indian context, when we think of policies related to development, related to growth, what are the economic tools that we have at our hand through which we can assess those policies, through which we can analyze, through which we can engage with those policies. So it is essentially, development comes as one of the things that we assess, one of the things that we focus on, one of the things that we try to put some light on through the tools of economics. And therein, those tools can come from different sets of theories. It does not have to be one kind of theory over the other, and it does not necessarily have to be quantitative technique versus qualitative technique. It can actually be together. These are the things that we try to do. So when we talk about development, I think the question is coming from the fact that we talk about development in our curriculum as well. We talk about development from this perspective, applying the economic tools to understand the context of Indian development. So that is where we are first economics, and then part of it is applied to development. There is one question by Deepika. Deepika, would you mind unmuting yourself and asking the question? I could not entirely follow the question. Could you, if you are there, could you ask the question?
I think, can BCom students apply to this program? Probably that's what Deepika
Yeah, the answer is yes. If
you can come and ask the question, that will be great. But I think that's what asking BCom students. I think Kate answered that while answering the BBA.
Yeah. I'd urge each of you who have asked questions to go through. There are many interesting questions that were asked, so please go through the chat before you log out. And if you see any important answers, please save it, because you may not be able to access the chat afterward. All right, so we're almost out of time. So any last question?
Tamogna, if I may, Amit here. What is the average say experience of the class and the cohort's age like? If you want to share some light on that.
It varies quite a bit depending on, so we have several students in our MA programs who have done something, who have done some other kinds of studies and then worked and then coming back to study again. So we have a section of students like that. And we have a section of students who are straight away continuing from their undergraduate education. So I think, yeah, most of the times the students that we have after who are coming with some kind of job experience, now they are coming back to academia. Those are usually 2 to 4 years of experience in the job, but we have had here and there. So yeah, that's the kind of demography that we are looking at.
All right. And in terms of the support, which you said you would be the university extends so for our research and collecting this primary data, doing internships, how would you support that? Would there be any? Would you be coordinating with the field, with the companies, or creating some kind of a channel so that the students can reach out and you would enable these research programs?
That would entirely depend on the scope of the work and the topic at hand, and different kinds of coordination is possible. We do certain coordination for primary data collection and primary surveys, etc. But then it all depends on to what extent we need to coordinate, to what extent we need to go. That depends on the specific research questions and the specific examples that come up. So there's no one answer to that.
All right. But you would be like, sorry, I'm just extending my question. I mean, like, say for example, climate change. So would you be pointing out companies or maybe firms which are dealing in that, and possibly they have a scope, and then students can go from Azim Premji University, provided they're doing or working in that area, or they have interests in that area. So would the panel be hand holding, doing some kind of supervised learning,
Sorry, Amit, are you asking in terms of internships?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So you are not expected to find the companies or the organizations that you do the internship with. We do that. And we work closely with them because we want it to be a real internship opportunity and not just making coffee or hanging out. So no, we work very closely. We do in the semester leading up to the internship, the faculty member that's anchoring the internship program will actually talk to you and get a sense of what your interests are. What is the area that you would really like to work on in terms of an internship? And then we have a vast network of foundations and organizations that both the university as well as the faculty and also the foundation have worked with over the years. And so we tap our networks to get you placed in really interesting internships.
Great, thank you. So there would be handholding, as I understand. Thank you.
We don't give you, actually, we've had students who say, no, I want to work at an organization or a company my dad runs or somebody in the family runs. And we say, nope, sorry, you can't do that because we do that side. We also want it to be very tailored for the educational goals of the internship program, which is different than a sort of internship, which just gives you a little bit of experience. We want it to be real. We want you to be working on something, using tools of analysis, so that you also get something out of it. In the same way that if you're doing independent research in the thesis track, you get a thesis at the end of it. We want your internship to also give you something.
Got that. Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, several companies working on climate change are also in the list of past internship organizations. So yes, they do reach out. Thanks. Adoina, Rajagopal, should we?
Yeah, I think we should try and wrap it up now. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Rajagopal would like to maybe have some conclusion.
Say a few words about the university and then.
Yeah, no, quickly, not really. I mean, those who are staying, if I had to look at a university, right, this is what I would look at. The first is we are a philanthropic university, right? And when you say philanthropic and not-for-profit, you should know that this is not a university operating on student fees. We're completely supported by Azim Premji Foundation. That's one of the key reasons we are able to give these what we call need-based scholarships. Now the programs are of high quality. I would say this is a great place to study. I wish when I'm just repeating what Kate said, I had gone through this kind of an education. It's a great place to study with clear career paths available. But we are a university concerned about challenges of the here and now of the country. And we're trying to see how would we bring about change through higher education in a non-violent way, right? So that's the first part you should gather from this discussion, the nature of the university. That's number one. Second, in detail, the faculty members here explained the programs. I'm glad you joined. You should do that. What do I get to learn in those 4 semesters? How is my learning experience going to be? You would not have done that for your graduation, BA or BCom. If you have done that, great, but many don't do. Jahan pe mil gaya mera college, I'm done, right? Don't do that for higher education. The idea we are doing this in detail is we want to be transparent, you make an informed choice, correct? That's the second part. Program and placement, Tamogna nicely covered. The final part is you should clearly know the selection process. You should prepare yourself for the entrance test. You should know the rubric. Finally, you should know the student support you get. The student support doesn't stop with financial support. That's the mistake many higher education institutions do. They think I've given them access to higher education, I'm done. No, knowing what the project and the program that Kate is working, as she said, we are learning, but we are responding very fast, right? So students on scholarship get laptops, they have language support, academic support, mental health counselors, we have a nutritionist on campus, we have first aid care, the list will go on. Then I'm just ending, the student life is so vibrant, you don't know what to expect when you go to different corners of Azim Premji University. So that's it. So university, the program, and the student support on campus, right? So yeah. And you could use this framework when we don't compare ourselves with other universities. We are not in competition. We are Azim Premji University. But yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you. Please feel free to reach out to any of us who were here. And we will try our best to respond as quickly as we can. Thanks.
Yeah, knowing all of them, I know they're very good at emails, but if you want to reach me, I'm just giving it's not my personal outreach. You could write to us.
Yeah.
Any generic questions on fees, how is need-based scholarships calculated? We have scholarship for students with 3 years or more work experience coming in. We just waive off 1 year tuition fee. So it's all there on the website. We're trying to be as transparent as possible with all these details. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I could see 1 or 2 more questions on the chat, but those are questions that for which information are readily available on the website. So please take a look at the website. Yeah. So I think we have had a very engaging interactive session. Thanks to all my colleagues, Rajagopal. Thanks to all of you showing interest in taking admission for the MA in Economics program. We really hope to see you here. We really hope that this conversation that we have had this evening will be really converted into your actual application into the program. So we're really hoping to see you soon in campus.
Thank you. I'm not ending the meeting. I'll just hang around so that if people want to read the chat messages for the next 5 minutes, I'll just be here online. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye.